Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unbreakable-You podcast. I am your host, Olga Binyaminov, healing and empowerment mentor. Today's episode is so special because we're diving in much deeper into the connection between body, mind, and spirit. And we're going to take that journey into healing. You've heard me talk a lot about self-concept, empowerment, rewriting our story after heartbreak, after trauma. But here's the truth. Sometimes healing isn't just in our mind. It is actually in our body too. So to explore this, I've invited the incredible Kathy Sionit. Kathy is a psychotherapist. She's also a hypnotherapist and a facilitator of women cacao and somatic movement. She guides teens and she also guides adults through depression, anxiety, trauma, transitions, and really has a great holistic approach. Kathy, welcome to Unbreakable You. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm excited too.
That's incredible. So we're going to have a beautiful conversation. So I want to start so everybody will know with your story. My audience know my story, and I always say that I don't coach from textbook. Although I am certified, coaching from textbook is very raw. The story for me comes from a heartbreak that I've been through, and I had to learn to just come out of this process through healing. And the heartbreak is just so devastating when you go through that alone, and I'm here to provide that journey. So I want to know what has inspired you to begin that healing journey, to guide people through their trauma, anxiety, and life transitions.
Yes, I started out about 15 years ago. I graduated social work school in 2008 and worked in a couple of different health agencies, mental health agencies. And then I started private practice. And I learned so much along the way in terms of being a therapist and applying different modalities, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with some, because coaches and therapists really do intersect a lot, right?
Right.
And along the way, I kind of had to learn my way through learning different techniques and modalities. And many of it was really inspired by my own stories, my own traumas, things that kind of transpired for me personally on a personal level. And with pretty much every incident or every trauma or every intersection, I ended up doing certain kinds of work and modalities in therapy and different kinds of therapeutic methods to actually heal me because I needed the healing, right? I needed the emotional, somatic, all of that stuff. And so that's pretty much where I got to where I am today. So I really did start out as a regular talk therapist. I was using CBT, DBT, the regular I would say therapeutic approaches that most therapists are nowadays using. Along the way, unfortunately I suffered from a very traumatic miscarriage about 10 years ago, actually. This next month is going to be my 10th anniversary. And that really threw me off. You know, before then I was okay. I was doing fine. I was a mother of four children. I had already gone through school. I had a job. I was just juggling family and home and everything else. And all of a sudden, realized I was pregnant. And um, yeah, so 5 months into it, I ended up miscarrying this baby. And that pretty much really changed my life. You know, the grief and everything else that came along with it threw me into the gutter to
Yeah.
the point that I was having physical symptoms. I wasn't myself. I wasn't my old self. And I kind of was trying to figure out how to help myself through all of this. And then I ended up going for a Reiki session, and that kind of opened me up. And then I ended up going for a hypnotherapy session, and that opened me up even more. And then I realized that I actually had had some childhood traumas that were never really addressed and integrated. So the miscarriage really brought out a lot for me, and it opened up like a lid, like a can of worms, not really can of worms, but it opened up the lid to whatever was underneath that needed to kind of just come out and be exposed. And that's pretty much what started out this deep healing journey for me. Um, yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. This is very deep. And, you said it opened up this wound. I always say that the wound that opens up, or the crack, as we say, right, is the place where light can enter. And there's always a transformation from any situation that is so difficult. So many of us really step into healing because of our own wounds. And we turn that pain into wisdom. That wisdom can help others, and that's what me and you are doing. We have a lot in common in terms of the type of approach that we have. So that really is what makes your work so powerful, because you've done this yourself, and you've taken that wound and created so much more for others. Now, one thing I see with a lot of my clients is that they try to think their way out of pain. But the body keeps holding on. As you said, this miscarriage caused your body pain, like an actual trauma. So, can you explain how trauma gets stored in your body and why somatic work is so essential in healing?
Yeah, so somatic work has been very essential for me personally because I think that prior to doing deep trauma work, I was very much doing a lot of work in my head, like you mentioned. Most of these therapeutic approaches are very much up in the head. They involve thinking about patterns and symptoms and kind of like how do we manage the symptoms, right, through thinking. Which, by the way, are amazing. And that is absolutely what is needed in the beginning of the healing process.
Right.
However, what I found was that somatic healing was taking me into my body and it was allowing me to feel within my physicality the emotions that I had had stored in my body for years as a result of situations and traumas and, childhood stuff and even adulthood stuff. And it allowed me to go deeper within the sensations of the body. And that's what somatic really means.
Right.
Somatic means in the body, right? The word somatic comes from soma, which is a Greek word that means the body. So, yes, and that's where we kind of store a lot of these emotions, these events, these traumas, these whatever it is that we kind of had to go through without even realizing sometimes that that's what we're subconsciously doing because we do store different emotions actually in different parts of the body, right? So, for example, the lungs can hold grief. Yes. They can also hold freedom on the other end of the spectrum. The gut can hold on to feelings of I'm not good enough, the not good enoughness. Um, the root chakra can hold a lot of shame, right? Whether it's shame that's related to something that has happened to us or it's existential shame. And you have all the other organs kind of chiming in as well. Like
Yeah.
kidneys are about fear, right? When we are so afraid, and that's why children, you could have 5, 6, 7 year olds that are still bedwetting,
Hmm.
right? And when you do a good history, you notice that these children were actually may have some form of a fear, whether it's related to the family situation or the school system, and it shows itself in the child's bladder and kidneys kind of acting out. And right, it's like a almost like a release of
Absolutely.
that fear.
Absolutely. This is amazing. And you're absolutely correct. I don't know if you've ever came across this book. I can't remember the author's name, but it's called The Body Keeps a Score.
Yes.
It talks so much about how your body reacts and keeps all those wounds. So then there are a lot of triggers throughout our lives that just trigger that emotion, that sense of whatever that trauma might have been. And it doesn't have to be something big. It's something that just triggers that emotion, that emotional storage inside your body. And that's why we can't just shift our mindset. Mindset alone doesn't do the full complete work. We also have to allow the body to release what it has been carrying. And I think that's where your certification of hypno and experience of hypnotherapist, and I also a certified hypnotherapist, comes into play, where you actually dig into what has caused that storage of your trauma.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. The body does keep the score. And, sometimes we think that if we kind of like push memories to the back of the mind, right? We
Yeah.
repress. And most often during childhood, we repress because there's nothing else that we can do. So think about a 5-year-old that's going through something really, really difficult. And it's not like they have a therapist sitting there waiting for them and
Right.
saying, "Hey, let me hold your hand. What's happening to you? Let me do play therapy." Most often, we don't have that other person,
Yeah.
right? When it comes to developmental traumas, things that kind of like we grow up with without even realizing they're traumas, what happens is that we end up repressing.
Yeah.
And that repression, everything is there, right? And the moment something happens, that can break loose, like what happened with me and my um,
Yeah.
miscarriage, was that a lot of my own feelings, a lot of my own emotions, a lot of my patterns and beliefs, some of the beliefs that were stored within me, probably since childhood, was that feeling, that belief that I'm not good enough. So
Yeah.
if I can't hold on to this baby, right, it's my fault that this happened to me. And I'm just gonna keep using the miscarriage because I think it's an example that something that happened to me, but I feel that a lot of women can actually relate to this. Um, for a long time, I was kind of like subconsciously blaming myself why it happened to me.
Yeah.
And when I actually looked deeper, I realized that this is something that I had from childhood, this idea, this belief that I am not good enough, right?
I absolutely love that you're saying repression, because through NLP, neuro linguistic programming, we always say that your brain keeps it. And if those of you that are listening, if you deal with something that repeats in your life consistently, certain patterns that happen exactly the same, just different people, different individuals, it's your mind, your brain bringing those feelings back up because now you're ready to deal with it. Your body, your brain represses those feelings, but at a moment where it thinks that, hey, this is the time for you to deal with those feelings, it's going to come up. And until you actually deal with those feelings and until you bring it back from repression to dealing with it, figuring out why that was the reason, it's going to keep popping up. And that's pretty much what happened with you with your miscarriage and how you connected to the fact that you're not good enough because there was something else in your earlier life where triggered that feeling of not good enough. And so this is an absolutely awesome example. Kathy, I know you also facilitate women's cacao circle, which sorry I couldn't attend the last one. Really wanted that, but that was a little bit of a last minute that I found out. Looking forward to know when you have the next one. But for those of you that listen and you may not know what that is, what actually happens in these circles, Kathy? And how does cacao opens the heart for deeper healing?
Yes. So cacao is a plant which has been used in mostly South American countries, I would say, such as Peru, Mexico, Ecuador, Colombia, and many other countries scattered. It really has its roots in the Mayan, the Maya culture, which believed a lot in plant medicine healing. And cacao happens to be a beautiful plant because it has very feminine energy. So everything in nature has either feminine or masculine or both, right?
Right.
Um, and cacao is a beautiful master plant that has very, I would say, feminine to the heart feelings, all of these beautiful feminine qualities that it actually brings that up within people, within man as well. So man can also drink it. Nevertheless, women have used it for centuries because it's been so healing to the heart. And they have actually used it as a part of the culture, sitting in ceremonies, sitting together, drinking it together with intention, with singing, with songs, and all different kinds of settings.
That's so beautiful. In my work, I see that some safe spaces allow women to take off their mask and really reconnect to who they really are. And it sounds to me like Cacao Circles actually offers that same heart-opening experience.
Yes, and what I like about cacao and why I use it so much is because it's actually non-psychedelic, meaning it is not going to give you hallucinations, it's not going to put you in a trip and you don't know what to do with yourself. It's a very, very mild plant where it can be used. I use it in conjunction with sound healing, somatic therapy, hypnotherapy kind meditations, very somatic ones, and dance and movement. I'm also a huge believer in dance movement, moving the body, and also breath work, something that I have actually incorporated
Mhm.
within my ceremonies within the past year or so, using specifically something called um, I'm like blanking out on my,
It will come up to
yeah.
you.
Clarity breath work, that's what it is. And that's a specific type of breath work which takes the person very deep into their body, where it is somatic, meaning it will bring up emotions in a form of sensations in the body, and the person can go down deep into those emotions, kind of like integrate the emotions, feel them. So I have people that, would move around, they would cry, they have images that are flooded back, there is traumas that may arise, and it can also have a little bit of a psychedelic effect on the person because they're pretty much breathing only through the mouth for about 45 minutes to an hour. And that can actually set off, it affects the nervous system in a way that the person can go into it, opens up the third eye, and the person can get visions. Their intuition becomes very, very powerful. Music sounds amazing to the person. The senses become sharpened, or they can go into a trance and into a light, which many people have, reported, and it's happened to me as well. So it's really a culmination of all of these practices in one ceremony, and I actually use them differently. So like the one that I had a couple of days ago was centered around the idea of self-forgiveness. And I picked that topic because many of my clients are Jewish, and including myself. And so we're constantly thinking about forgiveness, right? It's before Rosh Hashanah. And we're very much focused about forgiving others for what they have done to us, or forgiving ourselves for what we've done to them. And self-forgiveness is really, really deep,
Very deep.
right?
Absolutely.
It's not like you can just say, well, I'm just going to write this and I'm just going to forgive this person, and self-forgiveness is something that's a process that has to be done within ourselves.
Yeah.
And so that ceremony was really geared towards that particular subject. So I will just kind of do different themes from time to time. And at the same time, it's pretty open. So if someone's working through something on their individual end, they get to do that as well.
Yeah, definitely. Self-forgiveness is one of the biggest things that most people either don't know they need because that sounds very silly to them,
Right.
or they just don't know how to forgive themselves. They still hunt themselves for things they've done in the past, whether it's with their children, with their parents, whatever that might be. So this is really huge. Definitely keep me posted for your next one.
Yes,
Can't
I
miss that.
definitely will.
This is definitely huge. And through my coaching, I really always focus on self concept, and I also focus on mindset shift. But like we said, that's really not enough. So the you bring in the subconscious and somatic layer with the hypnosis that you do and body-based therapy. So why do you think both mind and body approaches are so necessary for the actual real transformation? Why can't we just do mindset shift?
Yes, absolutely. Um, because human beings are created with a body. And I always say, I think that we're probably the only species, besides for animals, that have a body and a soul, right? If you think about it, angels don't have a body.
Yeah.
Aliens, extraterrestrials, right? This, I know this is controversial, but I'm a huge believer. And I've actually interacted with some, so I know exactly what they can look like. They don't necessarily have a 3D body. We are in a 3D body, right? We have veins, we have muscles, we have a nervous system, and everything in our body is feeling,
Yeah,
right? So, so we can't ignore the fact that we have a body, and because we store so much in our bodies and we can feel it, it's kind of like a blessing to us. The body is here to help us move through the emotions, move through our process, so we can go through this evolution and actually grow as a soul. So the body that we're reincarnated into is a huge blessing and a vehicle that we are in that we can use in order to actually grow. It's meant for our soul growth.
for sure. It's like your mind says, I want to change, but then your body whispers, but I'm not safe. So your true healing really happens when those two are finally aligned. So that work that you do is definitely combining that mindset shift with body healing.
Yeah. A lot of what I see actually with people with a lot of anxiety and panic disorders, and I get many clients, that fit that description, is that somewhere along the line, it wasn't safe for them to feel into their bodies. So they kind of like ended up in their mind trying to manage, right? We try to manage things in the mind, and the brain, there are certain parts of the brain that kind of kick in that just want us to be safe and manageable. And they kind of like take over.
For
And
sure.
at some point, we completely dissociate from the body.
Yeah.
So I have women that come to me in their 20s and they're pretty much dissociated. They're not really feeling much, right? And that shows itself in many different ways.
Yes.
So let's say it can present itself in the person constantly being in their mind and producing thoughts and then not knowing what to do, and then the panic, right? The panic is the body reacting to something is not okay here. Get me out, right? And we don't even necessarily know what the feelings are. We don't know what the emotions are, but we just want out. And that's the body's way of saying that to us.
Absolutely. And so many women that I work with, they find themselves repeating those cycles, right? So repeating the cycle of toxic relationship, repeating the cycle of people pleasing, repeating the cycle of self-betrayal. Self-betrayal is real. It's not just someone betrays you, it's actually how you stay true to yourself, which is a topic on its own.
Which is a part of the self-forgiveness, by the way, because that's exactly what we
Sure.
do when we do
Absolutely.
self-forgiveness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, how does somatic healing actually help some of those repetitions break free? And for those that are repeating those patterns, how can they heal themselves from that?
Yeah. So somatic therapy actually focuses on the sensations in the body. So you kind of have to go a step forward with that. You have to step away a little bit from the somatics then, and then allow the person to go into their belief systems. So you want to go look at the subconscious beliefs, the limiting subconscious beliefs that we all have, which may not even be aware of, right? Um, Most of us are walking around with beliefs such as, I am not worthy, I don't deserve, I'm always going to mess up, or I'm never going to be loved by a man. And we may not know it, right? Because we put up a great facade, right? We want to look like we're amazing and we look good, and everything is about what we show up as. Yet we have all of these limiting beliefs that we are kind of operating from, and we all have them. It's a
Yeah, of
part of being human, right?
course.
So when
Absolutely.
we start to the process of actually doing belief work in therapy is about, let's see what this belief is, let's see where it came from, how it was created, how it served, and let's see how we could move the client away or shift them into something different. I'm not going to say better or worse. There's no better or worse, in my opinion. It's just a matter of how we adapt to what serves us now. So those beliefs may have served us during childhood, right? But they no longer serve us because we want to show up as our full selves. So we have to go dig a little deeper, do some belief work, and also reframing. A lot of times we can do this by reframing. So I could kind of like go a little bit more about that reframing thing, but what are your thoughts on this? Did I answer
So
your
you
question?
definitely did. And it's so powerful because I always tell my clients, you can't fix someone by breaking yourself. Right. And when we regulate our nervous system, as you said, because something served us before, but we have to stop carrying those old wounds and we have to start choosing from a different place. So stop choosing from pain and start choosing from your own worth, which many people don't realize what it actually is until they
Yes.
do that somatic hypnotherapy work to actually release all that old baggage.
Yes. And you also want to replace. So, when we do hypnotherapy, when I do hypnotherapy, it's not just about let's just release all that trauma. Let's go through the memory and see what comes up and
Right.
allow the person to cry and yell and scream and whatever. But it's also about actually walking the person into a place. So the way I do this is through a lot of visualization, is I walk them through, for example, let's say this garden where
Mm,
they get to pick up certain blocks, right? And I ask them to turn a block, and this is all done obviously in the subconscious mind in a trance. And I ask the person to pick up this block and tell me what you see. What's the word that's written on the block?
yeah,
And sometimes they will say weakness. So we will look at that. Sometimes they will say, if it's towards the end and they know they want to now choose better, they will say powerful, or they would say worthiness, right? And then we'll go into that.
it's incredible.
Yes, you are worthy. Look at that block, see what it looks like. So we kind of like play around a little bit with imagery and places and all of that stuff. I just find that
Very.
very helpful because you want to also shift the client into something different.
It's very, very significant work. And I know as a coach myself, and I'm sure you're doing that as well, I have been coached to do that healing. I have been through whatever we're getting our clients to go through. So it's not something that we're just following, it's something that have worked on many, many people before us, including my own self. And I'm sure you've done your own self as well. So this is definitely powerful.
Yes. I also just want to mention that almost, I would say not all, but I would say 85% of the time when I do hypnotherapy sessions, I will also incorporate inner child work during the
Yeah.
session. Having the person go back into memories, whether it's a child, whether it's a teenager, whether it's just
Yeah.
their younger self at age 22 that's newly married and they felt something happening. So inner child work, whether it's done in hypnotherapy or it's done in somatic work or plant medicine or even a cacao ceremony, can be very, very powerful.
Yeah, it brings up a lot from the childhood, and there are a lot of things that you can discover that you didn't even remember in your conscious mind, which is so powerful for healing. Kathy, you're also working with teens, and that is really important for the listeners to know. What are some unique challenges that today's young people face with anxiety, with their identity, and how do you guide them back to resilience and self-trust?
Yeah. So, teens are a little bit different because they are still in the growth process. So their learning experiences are very different from an adult's,
Hmm.
right? Nevertheless, the process is very similar because they also have subconscious beliefs. They also have patterns. And many of these beliefs and patterns are actually not even their own. And this is where doing transgenerational healing comes in, where we kind of like hold on to our parents and grandparents and our ancestors' beliefs and their traumas, and it kind of like becomes ours, right? And that's a huge part of working with children and teens and adults as well, because we adults also have it. We just don't know we have them. But it's kind of like working through that as well with teens and making sure that their social setting is set. Because for teenagers, the social aspect of their existence gives them a lot of their identity is pretty much very much formed around their social functioning.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, as a mom of three, I actually see how important it is to give your teens those tools very early so they don't carry this over to their life traumas, which then become so significant. So, if they learn to self-regulate themselves now, they don't have to spend decades unlearning those patterns as adults. And I tell myself, I wish I knew this when I was 20. There's so much that I could have prevented all that trauma, all that pattern, all that subconscious information that I was storing there.
Yes,
So
only if somebody would actually teach children and teenagers meditation,
yeah,
right? I tell everyone, almost everyone that I know who sends their kids to yeshiva, right, Jewish schools, we pay thousands of dollars, and I'm not here to bash any schools, but and there are many people that feel the same way. We pay thousands of dollars for yeshiva education, and we invest so much. And yet, there is not so much emphasis put on mental health, deep healing, breath work, connecting to your breath, meditating for a few minutes, right?
Kathy, but
Uh,
speaking honestly, it's not just a problem of private schools, it's also public schools.
right.
And we can go on this because the healing is not the only realm that they're not teaching. There's so much that those teens, preteens would have benefited from. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, it is where me and you come in, and my Exceed Learning Center, which is the center that I own, we do meditation for kids. We
Oh,
do
that's beautiful.
work for kids. This is something I've done throughout the summer with summer camp. We do that in after school. We do mindfulness breathing. This is so important for children. You won't
Yeah.
believe the 4 and 5-year-old kids that are sitting down and doing mindfulness, how deep that is and how great it is for their own minds. So
Uh,
I definitely resonate with that on this with you. Kathy, you also talk a lot about resilience. For me, empowerment is at the core of everything that I do. So, what does resilience look like in the healing process, and how does this resilience connect into empowerment?
Yeah. So one of the techniques that I love to use, usually in the beginning of treatment, is IFS. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with IFS. I know a lot of coaches use it as well. Basically, it's about getting to know the different parts of ourselves
Mm.
that have existed or that exist now, and understanding how these parts of us have served us, right? So there are different parts. For example, right now there's different parts within me. I'm just going to use this moment as an example. There's a part of me that's anxious. There's a part of me that feels good enough. Are you good enough? Are you being good enough? There's a part of me that somewhere along, like somewhere in the background, is kind of lingering depression. It's a little depressed. There's a part of me that's very critical. It's telling me, hey, why are you saying this? Or you should have said this, or you should have done that, right? That's the critical part of me. So this is just an example of a few parts that I could just think of off of my head, but everybody has these parts pretty much, right? We all have the critical part, the voices that we hear in our head, they actually become parts within ourselves, right? There's a whole ideology on IFS, which I highly recommend people to really learn because I find it to be very helpful. And so once we go through these parts, right, most of these parts are quote unquote negative because
Mhm.
they hold us back or they interfere. And what they actually are is that they're protective parts within ourselves that we have developed at some point in order to protect us,
Right.
right? And so once we go through all of these parts, we do that work. Now we're going to go into something called resourcing, where we go into other parts within our self energy,
Mm.
because really underneath at the foundation of all of these parts that I mentioned, there's also something else that's called self energy. It's my actual self. You could call it the higher self, you could call it the soul, you can call it just this thing that looks out for you and kind of like manages you on a much broader, godlier, more spiritual aspect of you, if
Mhm.
that makes any
Yeah.
sense. And so once we go into the inner self, then we can find courage. We can find now courage could be also framed as resiliency, right? Like resiliency is almost like a broader context in which you could put courage in, right? There's creativity, there's
Yeah.
connection,
Right.
right? There's a connection that we have with ourselves, with others, and with God, with the oneness that's around us. And you can say, well, I don't believe in God. Somebody could say, I don't believe in God, but you don't
Universe.
have to. You
Yeah.
just believe in anything. You believe in yourself,
Yeah.
right? You can also connect to that. So that's pretty much how I treat resiliency, right? I'm not a big fan of mantras. I never ever, even in hypnotherapy sessions, I don't
Yeah.
use mantras. I don't believe in telling somebody I am powerful, I am Brazilian. I don't think it seeps in. I think you need to
Totally
really go
agree.
deep in there and find a resiliency, right? And sometimes I will have the person look back in their life and ask them, was there ever a time where you felt courage, even a glimpse? And I have the person feel into that. And I will take them in their body where they may feel that courage. This is where somatic work comes in.
Yeah.
Because you want the person to connect the feeling, the sensation of courage, right? Like I feel courage, let's say, in my stomach and in my chest, right? So I want to be able to sit with that for a moment, connect to that courage that, yes, I can do something. Or yes, God is with me and has my back, or however it is that the person wants to incorporate courage. And I have them practice this
This is
over and over again,
This is
right?
huge. I actually use that for gratitude. Just tune into a moment where you were grateful and just stack it. I know I'm a huge follower of Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins have done this in multiple events that I've been through, and it's called stacking. So you stack all of those emotions, all of those feelings of worthiness. And I love what you do with that. For me, resilience is really knowing that no matter what breaks around me, I
Mhm.
won't break inside. And that's truly power. Empowerment is the choice to just rise from that strength that you have in you.
Yes. And you do have to dig deep a little bit to find it sometimes. And that's
Oh,
where
yeah.
therapy and coaching and all of this, all of this work comes in, right?
Yeah, for sure. Kathy, let's give our listeners some tangible. If someone is listening right now and that person is going through a heartbreak, a trauma, or just feels stuck, what is one simple practice that they can do right now, today, to begin feeling safe in their body again?
Yes. So something that I practice a lot myself and with my clients, and I encourage people to actually do daily. I tell people don't wait for something to break to fix it.
Yeah,
This is a part of us. What we do is really a part of our routine.
yeah,
And so I just have people sit with themselves in a quiet space, perhaps put the phone behind in a different room because we all get distracted with our phones. Just give yourself 5 minutes and just breathe and focus on the breath, right? There's a sensation of the air as it enters through the nose. It actually has a certain sensation, right? It's tingling, it's air, it's entering through the nose. And as we exhale, there's a sensation of it coming out. So if we actually can just focus on that sensation
yeah,
for just 3 minutes, right? If you have more time, you can go deeper into the body. Start to pay attention. Where in my body do I feel any sensation? Where in my body do I not feel sensation? It's also about what we're distracted from or what we're dissociated from. What does that feel like? Yes?
for sure.
And so I would say start there because a lot of the meditation techniques and a lot of these, I would say Eastern ideologies and yogic practices are really about clearing the mind. And most people in today's society cannot clear their minds, right? I feel like if you're not, like, unless you're a Buddhist or you're somebody sitting in a monastery somewhere in the jungle or in the mountains somewhere in the East, right? You
Yeah,
can't necessarily get to the point of clearing your mind. What you want to do is you want to work with the body.
yeah,
You want to go into those, whatever it is that comes up your body and just hold space for it unconditionally,
for sure.
right? A lot of times what happens is when we sit with something, stories start to come up. Yes? There's distractions. Oh, I forgot to take the cake out of the oven. Oh, I forgot to call the dry cleaning, or maybe someone's at the door, right? And then it goes into our stories. Well, I feel a certain way in my chest. What is that about? Oh, it's so painful. And then we go into the story of it. So what you want to do is you want to get out of the story and get into the body.
Yeah. And putting
Yeah.
it just simply, what I always say is healing often starts with just simple awareness.
Yes.
Once you're aware of where you are and what you do, and simple exercise that I always use with my clients is just place your hands on your heart and really take very slow breaths in. And as you exhale gently, you're going to notice that your body just softens, even if it's just by a little, but all that tension just just disappears. And that takes, like you said, 3 minutes, not even, like even 60 seconds, whatever time you have to kind of ground yourself to that point of at least awareness. Be aware of what you are, what you're doing. That can help a lot with anxiety.
Yes. And also something that I find happening a lot lately to at least my clients and the people that I come across, because I tend to actually attract a lot of people that are more advanced in their healing journey, is that people get very caught up in the process of healing, healing, healing. They feel like they have to get to a certain space or they're lacking, or this one's going to an ayahuasca ceremony, so I also have to do it, and this one's doing that. So what happens is people get into a healing crisis where they kind of like forget to just breathe,
Yeah.
forget to just be,
Yes.
forget to connect to their joy,
Yeah.
right? Because if we're not connected to our joy, right? If you're not in a state of joy and relaxation, chances are you're in a state of fear,
Yeah.
right? This is the way it works on this planet. We're always at any given moment, all of us are either in a frequency of love or fear. There's only two frequencies on this planet. And everything else, all the other frequencies really emanate from those two frequencies,
Yeah.
right? So we can also ask ourselves for a moment, take a breath. What state am I on?
Mhm.
Right? Am I in fear or am I in love at this moment?
Yeah. This is beautiful. Thank you so much. And I hope the listeners, will use this and utilize it in their daily lives. Kathy, you also hold women's circles, and I often guide not just private coaching, but also group coaching programs. What is the unique power of healing in community versus healing alone?
So I find, and this is how I got into doing this practice of bringing women together. I find that many times in today's generation, and I'm just going to speak about women at this moment because I feel like men also have their own dynamics and they can also benefit from man circles.
Mhm.
But when it comes to women, what I find is that many women have feminine wounding, right? Whether they've had mothers that were not attuned, they were critical, perhaps they were abusive, neglectful, and they have a thing with trusting women, trusting the femininity within themselves and trusting other women to connect to and be around because of what they have experienced.
Right.
And so bringing women together in a beautiful setting where everyone's aligned for the same purpose. We're all here together, right? And I always tell people, I'm here in this ceremony with you. I'm doing this with you. I'm drinking the cacao. I'm also doing the breath work as I'm walking around, just, helping people and coaching people. We're all in this together. And that idea that we're all doing this together, that alignment, creates such a beautiful healing frequency where we're not only tuning into our own energy, we're tuning into everyone else's, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, with boundaries, which is important. And that can actually move mountains. I mean, I've literally seen energetic portals open in the middle of a breathwork ceremony, right? I've
That,
seen it in my own breathwork ceremonies that I have attended, and I've seen it in my own. What I facilitate is that all you need is a few people doing the same thing, heart coherence. It's all about like Joe Dispenza is huge, and this is why he's so powerful and he's so successful with what he does, is because he also believes that if you put 100, 200 people in one room together, they're all doing the same thing with the same intentions, and they're all working on their frequency and coherence, heart coherence, that creates healing powers.
that's for sure. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. When we heal in a community, the shame loses its grip.
Yes.
And we just realize that we are not broken. We are simply human. And we also find a lot of pieces of our own healings from other people's stories. And that's certainly huge. Kathy, where do you see the future of healing going? And if you could give one message to women who feel broken right now, what would that be?
I see a tremendous amount of potential as to where we are going. I see people that have really taken on this journey and are doing their work. They are either doing therapy work, they are meditating, they are doing somatic work, they're doing coaching work, they're really going deep within, right? And they're healing generations of things. It's not even just our own that we're healing. We're dealing with generational traumas that were passed on to us and past lifetimes of trauma that we bring with us from other lifetimes. So I'm a huge believer in that. And so I see where people are going today in today's society. There's so much potential. Like our parents, our grandparents did not have the luxury of doing these things.
Yeah.
They were operating from a survival mode. They were too busy trying to figure out how to escape the country, where they were from and persecuted. They were too busy thinking about how do I put food on the table?
Yeah.
They did not have psychology like we have today. They did not have therapists. They did not, or they did, but they didn't necessarily believe in it. There was a huge stigma attached to it. And now we're changing all of that.
Yeah.
We are stepping away from that. We're stepping into something so much bigger, right? We have all the opportunities. We have ceremonies everywhere.
Hmm.
We have so much that we can actually do. We just have to allow ourselves to step into it. And because we have the resources, there's a lot of potential.
Right. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for that. I know so many listeners needed to hear these words because healing isn't about just going back to who we were before. It's about becoming stronger, becoming wiser, and really more whole than ever before.
absolutely.
Kathy, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your heart with us today. For those of you that are listening, you can connect with Kathy at Instagram, Inner Light Therapy 111. And after we finish, Kathy will put her personal contact information on the comments below. So feel free to reach out to her. Check out her Woman Cacao and Somatic Movement Circles, which is phenomenal. I will be at the next one. So definitely connect with her. And if you are walking your own healing journey after heartbreak, betrayal, and life transitions, I would love to support your thoughts and definitely join the coaching program, either myself, Kathy, or anyone, just so you don't do it yourself.
Yes, I also wanted to add on the note of putting, our services out there. If you are someone that's listening and you feel like you want to experience cacao, breath work, all of these healing journeys, you can reach out to me. I do ceremonies everywhere. I really do travel. And I always love reaching new people. Like, this is my thing. Like, I would love to be able to just reach new communities. Um, and I have people everywhere that kind of follow me. And so just let me know if you're interested in starting a ceremony and hosting a ceremony, if you have space for it. And I am so in. So reach out to me.
Thank you so much. And for the listeners, remember, you are not broken, you are becoming. And until next time, stay unbreakable. Thank you, Kathy, for joining
Thank
me.
you so much. Lots of gratitude and love.
Thank you. And I'll see you all soon.